Hey everybody, it's Mom of Two, Wife of One, and as you can tell from the title of this video, we are here to discuss Married at First Sight, Season 13, Episode 14. 14. That means we've been with this show, guys, for 14 weeks. That's 2.5 months of dealing with these couples. And hopefully, prayerfully, we only have about 2 to 3 more episodes left until the season is over. So the couples this week, like they do most weeks, all got together again. And this time, because they only have 2 weeks left to decision day, they all went to a retreat. And of course, since they're in Texas, they're at this big red barn house doing a lot of stereotypical Southern things like shooting and wearing cowboy hats and cowboy boots and going horseback riding. So most of the couples, not most actually, Mirla and Gil were pretty tame. I love seeing Mirla's growth. I feel like out of every person on the show, not even couple, every person on the show, she has shown the greatest amount of growth as a person. But I love that despite how much she's grown, she's always been very honest to who she is. And I really, really like her, actually. And I like Gil. I love their conversations with each other. I love that he's not afraid to call her on her stuff, but I love that she respects his opinion enough to be like, okay, I understand what you're saying. It's noted. I'm going to do better. And I really appreciate that. For Rachel and Jose, nothing happened with them. I just don't even care. I think they're probably going to say yes in decision day. I think Marilyn, Gail, and Jose and Rachel are the only ones who are going to say yes in decision day, honestly. And that's probably for the best. Let's get to Brett and Ryan, because obviously the juicy thing was Michaela and Zach, but I want to save them for last because I have a lot of conflicting thoughts about them. Brett and Ryan. I've always liked Brett. I've always been very honest about the fact that I really like Brett as a person, and I liked her even more last night. I feel like it was the first time she actually told Ryan, not the truth, but actually just kind of told him everything. Just kind of laid it out there, called him on his stuff. I really appreciated it. They rode up to the retreat together, obviously. And if you remember from last week, she sat down with his sister and talked about their relationship and was like, I don't really know what's going on, and I know you know your brother better than I do, so I just want to kind of pick your brain. And the sister was like, honestly, it's been such a big leap from how you guys were at the wedding to how I know you guys were at the honeymoon to where you are now. So the sister was saying, she didn't say, I think he has a girlfriend. The sister said, I think that he's holding on to something from the past. So that doesn't mean he's dating anyone. That could just mean that whoever that person or those people are from his past, he's holding on to that image and holding on to the feeling he had with them. And that's why he's pulling away from Brett. So when Brett brought this up to him, he never denied it. He just got really defensive. And then he started saying some junk about, I feel like everything doesn't need to be said. I feel like my actions speak louder than words. I've always been that kind of person. Now, this is my problem with that. Your sister, your wife, Dr. Pepper, and everyone else in your life has told you how you need to do a better job of communicating. So obviously this is a problem that you've had in the past. So you can't continue to rely on my actions speak louder than my words. If everyone is telling you now to use your words to express yourself. That's one. Two, what do you think your actions are portraying to Brett? By your actions, you don't even sleep in the same bedroom with her. You don't do any of the stuff that she likes to do. You don't really do anything with her at all. So what is she supposed to get from your actions? Like, I just didn't understand that. For someone who's supposedly trying, how are your actions showing that you're actually trying? I thought that was weird. And then they get to the retreat and everyone is, having dinner and they're having a good time. And one thing that was really sweet is that all of the couples, I feel like Ryan had nothing to do with it. I could be wrong. And maybe that's just me being petty. I'm assuming Ryan didn't have anything to do with it. But all the other couples got together and they bought Brett these cookies that were in the shape of dog bones that had her dog's name on it, Baxter, because, Baxter passed away. And I love that, she said, you guys don't know me that well, but I've gotten calls from you and text messages about how am I doing and if you can do anything, and it means more to me than you'll ever know. And I was like, that's just such a sweet thing. It was a really sweet and tender moment. And they had sparklers and they had like a little memorial for Baxter. And I love that. I thought it was incredibly sweet. But all I could think was, has Ryan done anything to help her memorialize her dog? I didn't get the impression that it was his idea to do that. I was just like, what has he done in all this time to really help her through that situation? Curious. I don't know if he's done anything or not, but I was like, doesn't really feel like it. So after everything dies down, she and Ryan and Val and Johnny are sitting around the campfire and it's getting late. And they're talking about where everybody's going to sleep. And Johnny, it's like, oh, so, I think, where you guys going to sleep? Have you looked at the bedrooms yet? Ryan says, oh, I wouldn't mind, sharing a bed with Brett. I'd be fine with that. Not bed, bedroom. Couple things again. That's just a weird statement to say, I wouldn't mind sharing a room with my wife. That's a really weird thing to say. A. B. I feel like a conversation should have been had between Brett and Ryan about sleeping arrangements on the way up to the retreat, especially knowing that you guys have not slept in the same room in weeks at this point. So I thought it was kind of weird that he would just put it out there like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll sleep in the same room. Like, that's not an issue. I'd be like, if I'm Brett, which she basically said, like, no, don't speak for me. I'm not comfortable with it. I didn't assume that was going to happen. I kind of prefer that doesn't happen, actually. And, he was kind of taken aback, like, oh. And in his mind, I'm trying. So me trying is saying, okay, we'll sleep in the same room, right? Because that's what we should do, right? It's like, no, if that had been the case, we would have moved back to the bedroom when you guys were still at home. Don't act brand new when we're on a retreat trying to save face in front of all these other people. Like, no. And I love that Brett was like, absolutely not. We're not doing that. Now, I feel like Brett from 2 weeks ago would have gone along with the program just to kind of be like, okay, well, he's trying. But this Brett is like, no, I've been putting up with this for weeks. You've been pushing me away for weeks. Now I'm at that point where I understand what it is. And I'm not even snapping because she never yelled, never raised her voice, never had an attitude, never even blamed him for anything. She was just like, this is what I see. This is what I know. This is what's not going to fly anymore. And that was it. And I also thought it was interesting. And this is my question to you all. Johnny was like, oh, well, there are 6 bedrooms. She was like, oh, okay. Do the producers do this intentionally? Because the last season where we had Jacob and Haley, all the other 4 couples slept in the same room, but Jacob and Haley slept in separate bedrooms. So obviously that place where they stayed also had 6 bedrooms, and that was somewhere in Georgia, I think Savannah. So I wonder if the producers intentionally find these Airbnbs with more than enough bedrooms because they assume some couples are not going to sleep together. I was just curious to know if that's something they do on purpose. And maybe they don't, but I thought that was kind of funny. Like, oh, conveniently, we have an extra bedroom. Okay. So Bows had her own room. Brett had her own room. Johnny slept in his own room. And then Ryan ended up on the couch. Brett and Ryan, they went shooting with Bao and Johnny the next day. And a couple things here. Johnny and Brett were the only ones who decided not to shoot. They're like, we're not about this life. Bao's never shot before. She was hilarious because she's so small. So it was really funny trying to watch her shoot. Ryan, of course, this is his element. He admitted he grew up 15 minutes away from there. He is a bona fide ranch guy. He likes all of that stuff. So he's shooting, having the time of his life. And he commented, I thought this was something we could do together. And, I'm really disappointed that Brett's not shooting. And the issue there is that you can't say I'm trying or I thought we could do this together when everything you try to do with her or everything you guys have done have been stuff that you like. She's not about that ranch life. She said she doesn't like loud noise and all that stuff, but she does things for him, or at least she goes along with things and at least is present there for him. I don't recall at any point in the season that he has listened to something she said and has arranged an event or an activity based off of what she likes. I personally have not seen him do that at all. So you can't say you're trying if on this trip all of a sudden you want to share a bedroom without talking to me first, and then the activity we do is something that you've been doing since you were 2. How is that you're not catering to my needs? You're not listening to me. What's the point? And she put it all out there. She was like, I want to know your mindset with saying that we could share a room together. Like, what did you think was going to happen, and why did you think that was okay? And he immediately got on the defensive again, and he didn't yell or anything. He was like, well, I just thought, that we could, I thought it was an adult decision. And, obviously I was wrong because it's causing this scene right now. And I was like, causing a scene? For who? It's the 2 of you talking at a picnic table. Who's causing a scene? Thought that was interesting. In his mind, she's causing a scene because she's confronting him on his BS. You're grown, dude. You're 35 years old. You can't take somebody telling you when you're in the wrong. It's just, he's so weird to me. And I don't know where his mind is. I really don't understand his thought process behind any of this. he's just really weird. I think that he's not really trying as much as he says he is, or says he's planning to, because his heart isn't in it. And it's like, that's fine, but then you need to tell Brett that. And that's Brett's whole thing this whole time. Like, you need to talk to me. I can't read your mind. But I love one thing she said to the girls. She said, I am 100% myself, which I feel she's always been very genuine, very authentic. She's never shown a different side. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. She's like, I show myself 100% of the time, very upfront and all that stuff. But if I feel like the person who I am is being rejected, then I go away. And that's exactly what happens. But I like that this is the first time for me that I've really seen Brett and Bao be very open when they're talking to the girls about what's going on in their marriages. And I was like, finally, you guys are using your voice. You're understanding and processing everything that's going on. I'm really happy for you. Obviously, there's no future for Brett and Ryan because Ryan just don't know what the heck he wants. He keeps saying that Brett is this amazing, wonderful person, but yet that's not enough for you to really give it a try. And I don't know what it is. And it's like, I don't even know if he specifically knows what it is either, but he gets on my nerves. But I was just really happy for Brett. I still really like her and all that good stuff. We're going to go to Bao and Johnny. With them, first of all, Bao was so shady this whole episode. And one thing I loved, when Bao was talking to the girls and she was talking about her childhood and how her parents have been married for a really long time, but she recalls times when she was growing up of witnessing emotional abuse in her parents' marriage, and how when she was younger, she always vowed that I'm never going to have that. I'm never going to be stuck in a situation where someone is talking down to me or disrespecting me. And she realizes, oh my gosh, that's what I have with Johnny. And I allowed myself to accept that by bending over backwards, by trying to appease him, by not really speaking up for myself. And I love that she came to that conclusion finally, and that she's strong. And she's like, no, I'm not putting up with this. Like, I'm disappointed in this marriage. I'm very disappointed in Johnny. I deserve better than that. Like, I'm so frustrated with the situation, but no, I'm not gonna put myself through that. That's not fair. And I was like, good. I'm so glad that she came to that conclusion. That made me feel really good. But she was really shady the whole episode to Johnny. But what I love the most about her actually having that conversation is that normally when Bao and Johnny have had their issues, we see Johnny complaining about Bao to his family, to the other grooms, to a friend or whoever. And then we cut to Bao giving her side of what's going on. So I love that in this episode, we only got Bao's side. Because I feel like most of the time, it's very Johnny heavy with what he wants, what he's experiencing, how Bao isn't doing this and Bao isn't doing that. So I love that this was Bao's time in the spotlight to say her piece, to say how she feels, to really have her moment of reflection without being interrupted. I really appreciated that they gave that to her, that she needed that. We didn't really hear a lot from Johnny, but it was interesting because she said, at home we're not sleeping in the same bed or in the same room because he wants to work on this foundation of friendship. But then when we get to the retreat, Johnny says, my plan this weekend is to avoid Bao at all costs so that we don't end up arguing and bringing down the vibe of the retreat. It's like, okay, mister, I want to build this foundation of friendship, but yet I don't want to talk to you. And I feel like mentally they both have checked out, which I'm not mad at all. But what I would love is, and I don't really see this happening, I would love for Bao to have the floor. He have to be in a situation where he is forced to listen, where he cannot respond, where she talks about what happened in her family. She talks about, you've been really emotionally abusive to me. And let me give you examples and let me explain why. And let me explain why this hurt me. Let me explain the damage that you possibly could have done to me before I realized what was going on. Like, I want her to have her entire piece. I want him to understand it. I want him to give her the apology that she is owed. I don't think he'll do it. I think if he does do it, it won't be sincere. He'll just do it because he feels like he's painted a corner and he should, but I don't think he would believe it if he actually did it. Because in order to have a sincere apology, you have to recognize your fault in everything. And he's so wrapped up in the fact that Bao was not the person for him. Like, I honestly think that he believes he was given the wrong wife. And I think Bao believes that she was given not necessarily the wrong husband, but she was given a husband who wasn't yet ready to be a husband. And both of them could be right. Who knows? Obviously, they're not staying together. And Johnny, because he didn't say a lot this episode, I didn't have an opportunity to be pissed off at him, which was great. Because, Ryan Ryan actually was the only man that really got my goat this episode. Now we'll go to Michaela and Zach. Now, one thing I will say is that it's not fair that as a black woman, some other black women who may comment on the show may talk about how Michaela made us all look bad. And it's so unfair that whenever we have a person of color on the screen, we immediately put an entire race of people on their back. And everything that they say or do, we're assuming it's a reflection of us. That's not fair at all. That's a lot of pressure for her. And I'm not put that on her because even though she's a black woman, Michaela does not represent me. She represents herself. Everything that she said and did was a reflection of who she is as a person. I don't feel any type of way about the stuff she did. I don't feel like, she reflects me. So I want to kind of say that first. I think that Michaela is, I'll say this. Zach said that he was ready for marriage. He said he was ready to be married when he was 17. Obviously, that's stupid. Michaela obviously thought she was married because she signed up for the show. I think neither one of them were ready to be married because they have so many other things they're dealing with. Like, Zach can't even say he was ready when he was 17 if he just had the revelation last week that, oh, I'm a perfectionist and I'm putting that on Michaela because I want her to be perfect. Oh, no, I didn't realize that about myself. So you just had that epiphany at 27. But you've probably been having that issue of perfectionism for the past 10 years. So there's no way you've been ready for a wife, even if you had met Michaela or whoever at 22, 23 years old. And that means no matter who you were paired up with, because you have it in your mind that they have to be perfect, even if it wasn't Michaela, it was somebody else, you still would have found fault in something they did, and you still would have held it over their head. So no, that's something that you need to work on yourself. And then maybe you can be ready to be married. Michaela's thing is she takes too much pleasure in how petty she is. Now, granted, I'm not going to act like I don't have a petty bone in my body. Want to pretend that I don't have that. But there's a difference between having your petty thoughts and putting those petty thoughts into action. When I was in my 20s and a girlfriend, I'm sure I put most of those petty thoughts into action because I was like, no, he ain't going to do that and blah, 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 have a little attitude, whatever. But as a grown woman, as an almost 40-year-old woman who is married and who loves and respects my husband, those petty thoughts still come because I'm still here. I'm still alive. I'm going to have those thoughts. But I always think twice before I do those things now. And 90% of the time, I don't do them. Because it's like, you know what? I'm not a girlfriend anymore. That was the old me. I'm not immature. I'm grown. So if something happens that I don't like, I need to figure out how to discuss that with my husband and make sure this particular thing doesn't happen again. Not being petty, not doing something that's just going to annoy him or irritate him. Like, what's the point? Like, it's not the whole tit for tat thing. That is not what marriage is about. And that's not what any grown person who is married should be aspiring to do. And I feel like Michaela keeps saying, yeah, I've grown and I've learned and this and this. And it's like, I don't think you have. You're still immature. You're still petty. You're still childish. And from last night, it also makes it seem like she's bipolar. I don't know if she is. And obviously, I'm not going to put that on her because who am I to diagnose anybody with anything? But it just seemed weird that she went to all these different, places. First, it was like, no. First of all, you tell anybody to shut the F up. That's, for me, the ultimate disrespect. I think to tell somebody to shut up in general is just really disrespectful and really out of pocket. So to say that to him, I was like, girl, that is just awful. And it's like, you're telling him to shut the F up so you can keep talking, but yet you keep cutting him off. And I was like, yo, he's trying to get his point across, but you're not even trying to listen to what he has to say because you're so focused on what you're saying and you assume that what you're saying is right. Now, if I were Zach, because one thing I hate is if I'm making a point and the person tries to cut me off, whether we're arguing or not, I just don't like it. So I'm not going to do like Zach did. I'm not going to stop talking when we start talking. No. I'm going to keep saying my point. And then I normally start saying passive aggressive things because I know the person's talking, they're not listening to me. And that could be petty, but it's like, no, I need you to understand that I'm still trying to have a conversation with you. I understand that you want to talk because you feel like what you're saying is more important than what I'm saying, but I'm going to continue to talk because you need to understand that I wasn't finished with what I was saying. And I do this all the time because I don't like being cut off. That's just rude, especially if I'm allowing you your chance to state your piece, then give me the same courtesy. That's only fair, and that's what adults, married people are supposed to do. So the whole conversation they had in the bed was so it was just weird. And I'm sure he was like, how did we get here? I don't understand. And for her to flip flop back and forth, and the editors of the show are petty as well, because they quickly rewound the footage to prove her in her lie. And it was like, really? I had to attribute to this? But, and then, you know, I'm obsessed. And let me call my big sister. Yeah, because apparently Zach is having issues. I don't know what kind of issues we're having, so can you pick me up? It's like, girl, that's the problem. You're constantly calling on your big sisters to bail you out of stuff instead of dealing with stuff as a grown woman. That's an issue. And then once he left, first of all, Ryan is a buster for the way he handles Zach leaving. It's like, if you don't get out of here. And a lot of people are talking about how Bao was peaking and how she was all being nosy or whatever. Like, oh my gosh. But I think part of that is, she admitted she's never heard Michaela and Zach talk to each other like that before, never heard the yelling before. So I think she was thrown off guard. And I think because she just had a conversation earlier that day about emotional abuse, she was looking to make sure no physical abuse took place because she didn't know what kind of conversation they had. All she's hearing is raised voices. And really, she's only hearing Michaela's raised voice. She's hearing Zach's voice a little bit, but she's hearing most of the anger come from Michaela. So, of course, she's looking because she wants to make sure nothing go down. Now, I'm not mad at her because I feel like I'm nosy. I've been doing the same thing. And another thing that I thought was just kind of sort of funny and kind of sweet, when Zach is trying to leave, he's outside with his suitcases and everybody's still outside. And they're like, no, Zach, it's too late. You shouldn't go. And Myrtle was like, Zach, your mother would not want you driving out this late. And I was like, yes, Myrtle, that's something I would say. I thought that was just a very sweet statement. But him leaving and then Ryan getting mad at Michaela, like, well, she's the reason that he's leaving. Like, yeah. Like, you ain't even in this, Ryan. Shut up. Go to bed. Go sit back on the couch. Go do something. It was like, you ain't had nothing to do with this. But the whole scene was so crazy. And I thought about male friends I have and conversations we had when we were younger about quote unquote crazy women. And I thought in my head, if I was a guy and I'm having this argument with this woman, I'm tired of arguing and I'm walking out, but she's following this close behind me and just taunting me. Not that I am for domestic violence in any way, shape, or form, but I feel like if I was a man, not that I would snap and do something, but I can kind of understand how it could get to that level. And not saying it's ever worth it, and not saying I condone in any way, shape, or form, but I can understand how it can get to that level if someone is right here taunting you, walking beside you, walking behind you, following your every move, and just taunting you and saying whatever nasty, vile things they want. That takes a toll on a person. And I'm sure Zach was like, yo, how did we get here? What is going on? And it was the first time I was like, oh, I see what Zach is saying. I get it. And the day or the weekend started off okay, but one thing that was interesting is that when they were on their way to the retreat, this is after Michaela already moved out, but she met him at their shared apartment to go to the retreat. And while they're going there, they stop at the lavender field, just kind of talk things out. And he was like, I really need an apology from her because I know she moved out just to hurt me. And that was petty and that was unnecessary. And so she was like, yeah, you know, I talked to my sisters and I talked to your brothers. And that's another thing I thought was interesting too, how much she talks to his family. And I feel like he is establishing a relationship with her sisters as well. I think that's kind of interesting. We don't see that often every season. But the fact that she talked about, yeah, you know, I've grown and I feel like I needed my space. And I realized how much I needed my space. And all he wanted was an apology. And she didn't say, at least from what they showed, she didn't say sorry at all that whole time. And I don't feel like she's apologetic. And I've been blaming Zach for a lot of stuff. And I still stand behind all the things I've said about Zach. But with Michaela, again, I think both of them are immature. Even the whole thing about, we had a conversation last night about Decision Day and we both said we want a divorce. I don't understand why it seems like every other day Zach is asking her that question about Decision Day. That means you're not living in the moment. You're supposed to be doing the work now so that on Decision Day, you are confident in your answer and you're almost confident what her answer is going to be because you both have put in the work leading up to Decision Day. You're not supposed to be talking about Decision Day every other day like you're afraid of what the answer is going to be. It's like you wouldn't be afraid if you guys were both putting in the work and doing what you're supposed to do. So the fact that he's the one that's constantly bringing up that conversation of Decision Day and forcing her into an answer, I think that part's not fair. And I feel like if you're constantly painted into a corner, if a person is constantly bringing this up to you, they're giving you that sign that, oh, well, obviously they're not confident about decision day. They're probably going to say no if he keeps asking me over and over and over again. I think that's just weird. And then apparently he told her he wants them to get a divorce so that they can work on themselves and then eventually get back to see if, they can make things work out. Because I think at the end of the day, no matter how they treat each other, he's always been adamant that she is a really good person. She's always been adamant that he is an amazing man. So they definitely like each other, and they definitely have a mutual respect for each other. It's just that they're not good at communicating and they're not good at expressing themselves. Like, it's really that. And the fact, again, that we have the immaturity and we have the childishness and we have the pettiness from mainly her, but also from him too. And the thing is, she didn't understand. She's like, no, I don't understand, because if we get a divorce and we come back, I'm still going to be me. And it's like, well, actually, yes, you're still going to be you, but the whole point is for us to work on our things separately. He's saying, I have stuff that I didn't know I needed to work on. You have something maybe you didn't know you needed to work on. So I suggest we get a divorce to work on those things, because until we work on those things, we're not going to be a good husband or wife to anybody, let alone each other. So I understood where he was coming from, but I didn't like the fact that he keeps bringing this conversation of decision day up weeks before decision day. Like, no. Y'all can have the conversation about stuff you need to work on. Like, that's fine to talk about that. But I just feel like really talking about decision day, I don't really think it's necessary to do that on such a frequent basis. Obviously, they're not going to make it. It got really ugly last night, and I feel like there's so many different angles that you can take with their conversation, but it wasn't good. All the way around, it just was not a good look. So I don't know what you guys think. What did you guys think about the big argument with Michaela and Zach? What did you guys think about Brett and Ryan's conversation? Do you have different predictions than I do? Is there anything that I missed that you guys want me to comment on? Let me know. Hopefully, again, we have maybe 2 or 3 more weeks of this, and then we'll be on to the next season in the next city. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment, guys. I also have my IG information below, Mama to Wife of One, because in addition to doing the recaps from Married at First Sight on my Instagram page, I do a couple other things. Right now, we're in the midst of a 40-day journal writing challenge, counting down 40 days until my 40th birthday. Right now, we're on day 24. So if you guys want to participate, we would love to have you over there. I'd love to communicate with you guys about that. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week.